Yeah, you're right. These sandings, if we were sand now, right, this would be a total of 4,
Right.
and the lifespan is typically 5.
Right.
Correct.
Well, the bottom line is the floor is junk.
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
Absolutely junk.
we'll take the insurer. At least my voice will go towards a new floor. I'm not concerned about how the vote goes.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
Is George attending? Does anybody know?
Yeah, he said he was. You want me to call in quick?
Well, it's 5:30, so well, it's 5:29 technically.
There he is now. Hey, are you getting on? He's trying to.
Scott, is Josh joining at all? Do you know?
I'm not sure about that, but I believe I see Dave Reifendorfer from Dewey on. I do see Dave. I do not see Josh as of now.
Are you there, George? Did we lose you? Oh, I hear you, George.
Huh?
There he is. Well, Josh is
Let me
here.
call you back.
All right. Okay. Are you on? Link? Can someone send George the link to get in?
Can he go up to his calendar in the upper right-hand corner?
He tried to go in through the calendar.
And it's not there?
Says he has to update his program.
Yes, I had to do the same. So I would recommend he does that. I had to do the same for some reason. If he
What the
clicks
hell's
on
that?
I think a lot of people have had to update the Zoom. It's some kind.
there's a link there that would prompt him to do so. All he has to do is click on that. It'll take about a half a minute, or it took me close to a minute.
I've been fortunate. I guess you have to update your laptop. Someone needs to give George his password.
Who's our host?
Well, yeah, if he's doing it from.
Brian, did Brian leave?
I'm here. I was just on the phone with Daryl. Daryl Miller was having an issue.
All right. Reach out to Brian. Do you need George's number? He's having the same problem Daryl is in.
Yeah, but you know what? We're recording and we're live. I don't want to get that over the Zoom session. I don't know if somebody can text me that. Lisa, do you have that number? You can text it to me.
George's number?
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. I'm assuming that's the 610, right? Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Update required. Brian's coming to you.
There we go. Hold on.
I'm gonna hang up, George, and Brian's gonna be contacting you. Right.
It's sent. Did you get it, Brian? Hopefully.
And George doesn't care if his cell phone is out.
Did you get it, Brian? He's on mute, so let's go ahead and kind of get started, and then he can join in as he gets connected. So let's call the East Stroudsburg School Board Property and Facilities Committee meeting with via Zoom on June 3rd, 2020 at 5:34 p.m. We'll call to order with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
To the
the flag
flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Rebecca, could we have a roll call, please?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, George Andrews.
It
Larry,
might take a minute.
okay. Larry Diamond,
Here.
Wayne Roner,
Here.
Lisa Van Wy.
Here. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for May 6, 2020 meeting, along with the agenda for June 3rd, 2020, with all members of the committee reserving the right to add to the agenda and take further action in the best interest of the district? Can I have a motion for that?
Motion.
I'm gonna say no. I didn't read it, so I'm just gonna say no.
Okay, I'll second it, I guess. I'd also like to just add some discussion about the summer projects at the end, if that's okay with everybody. Larry, are you okay for that?
Yep, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Do we have to wait? We have enough to carry that motion?
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna have to.
2-1.
The next properties and facilities meeting is scheduled for July 1st, 2020. Hopefully not via Zoom, but we'll see what happens. Items requiring action: Lehman Intermediate, gym floor repair, replacement, report, and proposal. And there's three options there. I know Wayne was talking about this a little bit before the meeting. The price for the floor is $225,910. The insurance would give us $74,450. There's also an install savings that will realize there, which is $7,210. So to opt for the option to replace the gym floor is $144,250, which I am in favor of, but I don't know how everybody else feels. I think Wayne, you're in favor of replacing that floor as well.
Yeah.
And there's also an alternate that's included in that for the air vents. It's an alternate one, which is $9,240. And Scott or Josh, feel free to speak up if you'd like. I'm just rattling off the numbers here.
Similar to what we did on the other gymnasium floor. That's with like three blowers, airflow blowers.
Yeah, I don't have the. I have to go into my Google Docs to look at.
Correct. And Lehman is offering 2 fans,
Okay.
which is
This would be the same flooring system that we put in high school south, not the main gym, but the old main gym.
And the
several
2
years-
is sufficient coverage?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Do we have that now? Do we have fans there, Vince, now? No, nothing.
No.
Okay. Okay. So was George ever able to get on? Does anybody know? Let's see. I don't see him here yet. Thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, Brian will get him in a minute.
We're on the horn with him right now.
Somebody's got their background on. Do we know who that is? In the background. Who has their speaker on? I guess it's- Does anybody know who's got that background going on?
What do you hear?
I hear somebody having a discussion in the background.
I'm at my office.
Okay, maybe that's it. Okay. All right. Okay, do we want to have any more discussion about this, the Lehman floor, or you just want to move on?
No, we gotta, the 4 of us should at least take the vote here.
Okay, well, let's move on to the Dewey invoices then. If there's any discussion about that.
Okay.
And we'll come back to that, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Oh, George is here. He's on mute though. There we go. Hello, George. You made it.
Well, we had to figure out what was. I had to use my AirMac password to allow the program to update.
Okay, so we've done the pledge and the roll call. We're glad you're here, and we're just discussing Lehman gym floor. And I went over the numbers before you got on, and to replace the floor. I mean, I'm assuming you've seen your information and you've looked it over. I don't know.
I've got everything here. Yeah.
Okay. So I just asked if there's any discussion and, what a recommendation would be. Wayne's in favor of replacing the floor.
Well,
I feel the same way.
when we were up there, we could actually see where the first repair was made. That was already one different color.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one would, of course, probably be slightly different also.
Right.
And it was in terrible shape, right?
Yeah.
Wayne?
Yeah.
It was really wrinkled, but and I get, but and I guess we're gonna have to do it this year though. It can't wait.
Well, I mean, it's an ideal time because we would, realize the savings there of a little over $80,000.
How do you see it? What do you mean?
Well, again, the cost of the project is $225,900 to replace that floor.
Which floor? Lehman.
Lehman.
Replace the floor is $144,000.
It is the cost of the floor is $225,900. We get insurance of $74,450 and a little install savings for another $7,210, which gives the total of the project $144,250. You are correct. We also discussed the alternate one, which is an additional $9,240, and that's for the for 2 vents for that floor, which we did. We did that alternate, also that option for high school north floor.
We won't put the power airflow underneath.
Yeah.
All right. So on your paperwork, what's it say for the replacement cost?
I would have thought that when they said the repair and then the replacement, so you're saying the actual replacement amount is going to be 144 plus a 74?
No, no. The total cost that Miller Floor gave us was $225,900 to replace that floor. We have an insurance claim that will pay us $74,450, and there's
Okay.
also a savings of $7,210.
Okay, I got it in front of me. Okay, I found it. Okay.
Which brings
I
it down to $144,250. That's what the motion would be for, if that's the recommendation. So, I mean, it's already been sanded 3 times. This would be the 4th time. They only recommend sanding it 5 times. The floor is not in great shape, as you guys are telling me, because you were up there. So why not realize the savings now and do it now?
Well, I don't disagree on that. And when would they do it?
Well, that'll be the next discussion, but
Well, if we're not.
This summer, right?
yeah, I mean, I think everything's ready to go for that. We just have to make the decisions, obviously, on the ceiling portion of it, which Wayne already spoke about a little bit before you came on, but we'll discuss that again. So I think we need to make a decision. I'm gonna.
Well, Scott, when's the material being delivered for the first gym?
I don't know when the material is being delivered. However, I spoke with Bill Miller earlier this week and gave him the green light to begin demo in High School North. And we can figure out working around the duct work at that time. Obviously, he would not install the materials until the duct work has been completed. He did not get back to me with a start time for demo. However, I think that could be within the next, probably maybe even next week already, that they may begin demoing. That's what he led me to believe, but he did not give me a firm date.
Okay.
As far as materials,
if he's demoing that one, is he going to demo the other one at the same time?
I would assume that would be his plan to do that. Yes, I didn't get that far with him because I didn't know which route the board was going to go on, whether replacement or repair. So we didn't really get into that in depth of a conversation as far as demo on Lehman. But they are going to work on those 2 projects together per se. In what fashion, I don't know. My thoughts would be that yes, they would demo both and then begin replacement of one and then follow with replacement of the other. That would be my thoughts to that.
I think that's some of the savings. We realized that 7,000 in savings is delivery.
That's correct, because they would be on site already.
Okay, I'm not saying he would, but could he not be working on the Lehman floor while we work on the duct work on the High School North gymnasium?
It's a possibility. Again, it would depend on when the contractor begins the work and how long it would take for the duct work. If he were to, per se, once we give him the green light on this project here, if he were to start demoing Lehman first, and then he wants his demo crew to continue because that's where he's going to find the savings, then we'd have to make sure that we can get into North Gym at that time and not be in the way of the other contractors. So there's some scheduling that would need to take place, obviously, and some conversations. But I'm thinking his plan, again, the reason for the savings that he's offering would be to work on these 4 floors simultaneously in some fashion.
And we have to discuss the ductwork yet, right?
And we also have to remember that the vote on this floor will not happen until the end of this month also. So I'm thinking that he will probably begin, according to our conversation, Bill Miller and mine the other day, I believe he's going to start the North Gym High School demo, probably more than likely prior to the general board approving this project.
Well, no, wait a minute. I thought we already approved the High School North.
We did. I'm speaking about approving this, the Lehman. I can't, if we approve this tonight, we still need general board approval, correct?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So what I'm saying is, well, I don't think we're going to ask him to wait demoing high school north, should he be ready next week, he can begin that right away. And then once this is approved by the general board, he can carry on with Lehman. But we're going to have a couple of weeks now, before this happens. This project that we're speaking of tonight.
Constraint, can we not get the a vote on by the board?
What?
Can we not give the recommendation to the board to have a general board meeting to let Scott know to go with it or not?
Well, we're not going to have a special meeting just to approve that. No, we already have North approved, the North High School gym. So that's where we'll begin. And in 2 weeks, we'll make the recommendation for the replacement of Lehman. And then
What Scott is saying, it may not take 2 weeks to demo the other one. Is that what you're saying, Scott?
What it is.
Yeah, but now wait a minute.
No, I did not give a timeline on the demo. I did not. The entire project, I believe, for each floor individually could be 8 to 10 weeks. So they're not going to be out of North and then have to come back to Lehman by the time that this is board approved. I just want to state the fact that they're not going to be able to start both of these gyms next week. They would only be able to start high school North next week, if and so their schedule allows them to.
Gotcha.
All right.
So I'd just like to make a motion to accept the replacement of the Lehman floor for $144,250 with alternate one as an option for the vents included in that.
Ultimate one's the airflow blower, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'll make that motion if anybody wants to second it.
All right, but I got one more issue here, right? We don't want to start putting the Lehman gym floor down until the roof is done.
We are aware of that, and Johnson Roofing for phase 2, which is the Lehman part of the roof. Phase 1 is the high school North, which they're still working on some of the phase 1. However, they are beginning to work on Lehman's side, and that's where they are beginning to work on Lehman's side is indeed the roof above the gymnasium. So this should all fall in place. Obviously, if we need to hold off for the actual installation of Lehman for a week or what have you, because of the roofing, we will do so. My thoughts are the demo can certainly take place whether the roofing is complete or not. But yes, we are coordinating that. I'm coordinating along with Dave from Dewey. We're in conversations on that, and we're in conversations with the roofing contractor, so we're all aware of that.
All right, and then the roof drains are going to get replaced also, right?
So everything with Jotton is going to get started on the 15th. They're going to be loading the roof on the 11th, and then that Monday they're going to get started on starting to tear off at the gym. I also have the masons are going to get started starting the through wall flashing replacement around the gym next week. They're going to be on site starting Wednesday to get started on the Lehman gym. So they're going to try to get that done as quickly as possible. And Larry, the plumbers will be there to get those drains, because they need to get those done before they start putting like cap sheet down. So that all that stuff will be completed
Right.
first for the project. They're going to get started there right away.
All right.
Thanks,
Yeah, because we don't want to put the new floor in, then they tear the roof off, and we get a hurricane, and a brand new floor gets totaled.
Well, then we'd have another insurance claim, but you're absolutely right. We don't want that to happen. I'm pretty sure nobody else here does either. So, okay. So I made the motion. Does anybody want to second that motion?
Yes. That's
Second.
fine.
Second by Wayne. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, let's talk about Dewey Engineering invoices. $1,950.01 for Resica Elementary and Middle Smithfield water filtration. See attachment B1. Do you want me to run them all off, or do you want me to? We want to do one at a time.
Let me, B1 is
It'd be 6B1, whatever, but that's just normal invoice, right, Josh?
Yes, correct. So these are progress invoices for the this one for the filtration project. So I guess unless you guys wanted to hit it later, I can just give you a quick rundown.
No, it's on my list, so go right ahead.
Okay. So currently with the filter project, we're in contact with Middle Smithfield Township Sewer Authority and their consultant, who is Gilmore, and it's related to the backwash of the filters. So these green sand filters, obviously they take out the stuff that we're trying to filter, the iron and manganese. Periodically, those filters then need to be backwashed or cleaned out of those particulates that they're taking care of.
Fucking bullshit.
And we're currently getting through with the township as far as gallons of backwash, how frequently that is, what types of concentrations of items we're going to be looking at. And the township and their consultant Gilmore are reviewing the information, and they need to get back to us with respect to whether it's okay to discharge that backwash into the sewer system, and if so, at what rate, because we don't want to overwhelm the sewer system, obviously, with what we're discharging. So at this point, we are waiting to hear back from the township as far as what the requirements are on any backwash rates or volumes. We do have the DEP applications underway. Those should be completed as soon as we can get the information back from the township with respect to the backwash. That's all part of the application process. So we're anticipating a late June completion of those permits, and at which point DEP, for a water supply permit, DEP affords themselves up to 120-day review time of the permits.
Jesus.
So, obviously, it's something that we cannot really dictate the schedule to them.
Is that permit, I'm sorry, Josh, is the permit application an attachment in any of these papers we received?
Not currently, Wayne, but we can, if you want to see the progress status of the permit, we can send that over to you.
Thank you.
So you can't.
I had a question on this. I thought the last time we had a long discussion on tying into the city water or doing a permit, because we thought the water was going to be clean water, so we didn't have to have special permitting. Now we had to. Am I wrong on what I'm thinking? Or did I get mixed up the last time?
No, so what we talked about last time, George, was the possibility of a holding tank that would simply be pumped out, similar to a septic tank almost, of that backwash material. So what we're doing is we're trying to come up with the best plan with respect to how that discharge backwash is ultimately removed from the site. And like I said, some of it has to come down to the fact that the sewer authority may regulate how much we are dumping into the system, so to speak, at a time. So even though ultimately we may be discharging to the public sewer, we might still need some type of a holding tank in order to discharge it at a lower rate so that we're not slugging the system all at one time with backwash. So these are the types of things currently that we're in discussions with the township as far as how we can dispose, so to speak, of the backwash water. We can't simply,
But I thought though that we were talking at one point of disposing it right into the ground because it was basically drinkable water, and also we just took the ingredients out of it, and that was going to be the cheapest way of going, but then we got to talking all this other stuff and it was going to be much more expensive. What, am I missing something?
Yeah, I think the initial hope was that we could do that. However, there are requirements that we need to follow through DEP and the township with respect to discharging that water. So that's what we're going through at this point with the permitting process. And I think a lot of it has to do with the concentrations now. They're obviously much more concentrated as they're filtered out and then discharged than they would have been.
So you're now telling me that even if we go into the city water system or American water system or whatever, we may still need a holding tank?
No.
The PA American is the supplier of domestic water, public supplier. What we're talking about is the sewer agency with Middle Smithfield Township that's in charge of the discharge of the sewer. So,
so George, can I just butt in here 1 second, George? So this is what Wayne was talking about last time. He had Josh check into the sewer system discharge to Middle Smithfield as opposed to the other option. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, we also reached out and we have not even been successful in finding anybody to return a call at PA American. But their service is down on Tom X Road at the bottom of the hill. And,
I know that.
I think last time we started talking about, is it worthwhile from a long-term cost perspective to extend that system up to Resica and get off the, on-site well system, which certainly is an option as long as it works with PA American. So, we don't know what their system is capable of handling from a pressure or flow perspective up to the school. That's what we're trying to figure out with them. But that could potentially, be an option as well to get the school on a public supply as opposed to the on-site well.
Which is what I guess what I was talking about, or thinking about from what we're saying. Okay.
Right.
So we really we're at a point where we can't make any decision on anything regarding the rest of the water.
That's right. We're basically on a wait. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, we're proceeding. I mean, unfortunately, we can't even wrap up the bid documents until we get at least to a point with a DEP technical review that we're comfortable that they're not going to be making us do any large changes, So I don't know that we'll necessarily have to wait a full 120-day time frame. I think they'll be giving us feedback in the meantime that, can get us into a position of wrapping up bid documents in the meantime.
What are the size of the tanks they want?
Of the filter tanks?
The backwash tanks. What size are they looking for?
Well, they're not necessarily dictating a size. That's what we're trying to determine with the township as far as how much do we need to contain and discharge at a certain rate. So that type of flow information is what we need to get back from the township.
Okay, do we know what the flow rate is on each of the filters?
Yeah, so at Resica, we're looking at 4 filters, and at Middle Smithfield, we're looking at 2 filters. They have about 50 gallons per minute each over a period of 15 minutes. So they would be obviously staggered. They wouldn't all backwash at the same time. But those are the numbers, Larry, that we're working with as far as how much we need to account for each filter.
All right, so it's 750 gallon each time one of those flushes.
Right, over a period of 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And based on the consumption, we're looking at about every 2.5 weeks would be the cycle for the backwash for that system. It's based on how much building consumption there is.
Right. All right.
As a committee and a board, we're looking at nothing happening for 3 to 4 months.
Correct.
Talking about this for a long time.
And we've been talking about this for a long time. Yeah, that's,
Yeah, and one of the things that we have discovered with DEP is that
yeah.
there's actually not a full completed permit for either building.
Okay, just a second. My wife will be right out.
So
I'm
I don't know if you
sorry,
heard
what
that,
was
George.
that, Josh?
We have not been able to get from DEP an actual permit for either building. And I think at the time, Wayne, it was based on the level of what was found in the groundwater at the time. What we're finding nowadays is because of the level of manganese, it's over a threshold that now requires a full public water supply permit. Even though, we're not supplying water to other people, it's basically staying on site. Because the manganese level is over, I think it's 0.3 milligrams per liter, it kicks us into a permitting process that's basically a public water permitting process, which was not in place previously. So that's another reason why the approval and permitting timeframe is so long.
So, I
That's
mean,
why I'm not interested in getting into the water business either.
Would it benefit us since we still have time to work on the filtration system to possibly entertain PA American Water again and find out pricing from them? I have information in front of me which I found out back in 2018. I shared with the committee, and the first thing that I was informed of is that the PA American would require a formal letter of intent from the district to begin the process. And then we would have to provide them information such as the gallons per minute and the flow and that type of thing. And the cost back then, and this was over the telephone, a guesstimate was $386 for PA to run up to the property line at Resica. And then the district would have to assume the responsibility for it. It's approximately 3,000 line of pipe that we would need to run up to the property line, and then backflow preventers and such. And on top of that, I think it was you, Wayne, last month's meeting asked what the cost that we were paying on Prosser Labs, and to date, annually we are spending a little over $13,000 just for
Resica.
For Resica. So just to put things.
Right?
Pardon me, I didn't hear the question.
It was $386,000, not $386.
No, I had a couple zeros.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. Okay.
I'm at 386,000. I thought I said that.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
There's a problem here with that whole thing. Their pipeline is already to the school property, so they don't have to lay the pipeline to get to. The pipeline is at the corner of Gravel Ridge and Tom X.
okay, so what I'm hearing is there's a couple options here, and do we want to keep trying to entertain American Water? I mean, we've been on this a long time, and now we have the other thing that Josh is working on to tap into the sewer line. At some point, we have to make a decision. I would just like some financial information. Obviously, we're waiting on the
We're waiting on the township. We're waiting on DEP.
In the meantime, we can entertain the American Water
Yep.
option. And by the time we get that, probably from American Water, because they're not responding at the moment either, I'm pretty sure we'd have two options and we can make a decision finally at that point.
Yeah.
We're talking 3 or 4 months.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Well, let's get Scott to see if he can get somebody from PA American Water and
That's what I just said.
Our group and Josh to meet on site up there as a starting point.
Well, I mean, first of of all, we can't get a hold of PA Water right now anyway, as Josh just said. So let's just give them the go ahead to work on this, and then we'll worry about the details later. The longer we wait, the longer it's taking here. It's been a long time now. I'd just like to see some movement forward.
Well, the game plan keeps changing. That's the problem.
Right.
Right, but there shouldn't be a problem getting a hold of PA American Water and having them send a representative out that we could meet on site.
Oh,
I hear you.
So let me ask you guys. Let me ask you guys this as well, because we looked up the PA American service map in the area. Would Middle Smithfield also be an option that you'd want to consider? And I say that because it looks like their line goes up 209 up to the point of about Sellersville Drive. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that intersection.
I am.
So it looks like that is where their service would end, leading
so
towards the
put that on
school.
the table as an option, Josh, for Middle Smithfield, because that's actually on my list as well.
Yeah, and I think that would be a little bit trickier. I'm assuming 209 is a PennDOT road.
Yeah.
Anytime PennDOT is involved, you can add time and you can add cost to the project. So
what are you referring to, Josh?
to Route 209, is that a PennDOT road?
Yeah, why are you bringing up 209 for rest? Are we talking about middle now?
Well,
Well,
what I'm saying is it worth approaching PA American for middle as well as Resica?
No, that's a hell of a distance. Actually.
Yeah, it's probably 2 or 3 miles, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Less than 3.
Sellersville. Doesn't look that far. It's at Sellersville Drive, like I said. So I can Google Earth it real quick, but you know, when PennDOT gets involved, like I said, that's a very lengthy process.
Well aware of that one.
Yeah.
They're the only PennDOT's what's holding up the Smithfield Gateway.
all right, so let's not deal with them at all if we can avoid it. Okay, so Josh, you'll keep working on the water for up at Resica.
Yeah, we're going to keep plugging away with these approvals, and like you said, we'll have some time in the meantime if we do decide to change course.
Guys, I gotta go.
Okay, Wayne.
Have a nice one.
You too.
See you, Wayne.
Wayne, here we go. Who at Great Bear? Where does Great Bear get their water from?
Probably Pennsylvania American. It is Pennsylvania American. It's that borderline.
That's far.
Okay.
No, it's not far. It's the
far
same
from
line.
us.
What serves Big Ridge is serving would serve us.
Okay, but
So-
from Great Bear to Middle Smith, that's
Oh,
right next door.
Great Bear. I'm sorry. Great Bear is all wells. They don't have they're all wells. Central Sewer all wells.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
All right, guys.
Take care, Wayne.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move on to Dewey's invoice, high school north sanitary liner replacement for $3,685.02. And then maybe we can also get a little update with that as well as we go through this, or
Yep.
is there not much to tell?
Yep. So up north, this permit application is actually further along than even the filters. That application will be ready in about 3 weeks. As long as we can get some information from DEP, actually, in this case, not the township, with respect to the geotech report. There should be an existing geotech report from the original installation that DEP has. They've been referencing some information from a geotech, and they should have the original report. So their offices are still actually closed. So we've been trying to deal with them remotely. So they've been a little bit slow, in their procedures as well. But we're hopeful that we can get the information that we need within a couple weeks, and we can wrap up that application process by the end of June.
Okay, that sounds good.
So their review timeframe for a installation such as this, it's not quite as long as a public water supply. This case would be 65 days, not 120 days
Okay.
for their review. So, heading into the late summer
Yeah,
or fall, we would at least have enough that we can finalize bid documents for the lagoon project up there.
okay. So, I mean, would it get done this year, or does that get then pushed forward to summer? Of
Yeah,
next-
it would get pushed till summer, and the reason for that is
Of
those
2021,
20
right?
21. Yeah, so the lagoons, they need to be filled in the wintertime when the ground is frozen. In the summertime, they're empty so that the effluent can be infiltrated into the ground. When the ground is frozen, they need to stay full. So we'd have to wait until the spring of 21 to start that. I recommend we still bid in the fall.
Uh-huh.
We still put it out to bid, we still get numbers, but we actually can't start the installation till probably the end of March or April of 21.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Let's move on to invoice for JT Lambert security camera installation for $890. Any questions on that? That's just a progress amount for Dewey. Guess not. So we'll move to JT Lambert.
I had a question on that. I thought Brian Waters' group was keeping track of all the camera installation and all. When did you take him on that, Josh? Just curious, more curious than anything else.
Well, yeah, Brian's department is still, basically kind of heading up the project. I'll say we did prepare the bid documents for them and put it out to bid so that, the project could actually be executed.
Okay.
And I can offer a progress update, or Lisa, do you want to save that for the end?
No, you can go ahead. We'll
Okay.
take one thing off the list if you want. That would be
Yeah,
great.
and I'll do the same then for the flooring replacement as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So the Guyette has made it through all three of the classroom wings at JTL with the cameras mounted, cabled, and directed. And then they also have a few of the exterior cameras that they could get from the ground, like out back where the loading area is in the cooler. And then they have also done some work to the other areas of the third and second floor as well, back by the library and the cafeteria. So they're moving right along
Okay,
for that project.
on schedule. Looks good, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. Let's move forward to the JT Lambert and Resica Elementary floor replacement. That invoice for Dewey is $11,569.50. And you're also going to give me an update on that as well, right?
Yeah. So I'll start with Resica. Resica, they have all of the demolition done in the second and third classroom wing, as well as the kindergarten and first. By Friday, both of those areas will have the skim coat down for the in preparation for the flooring to arrive. So when the flooring arrives on Friday, it's going to sit and acclimate itself to the conditions in the school, and then they're going to start laying floor on Monday.
That's great.
We'll start to see some progress, and they're going to work in the classrooms. And then once the classrooms are completed, I've been working with James, the head custodian over there, to then he'll start getting all the stuff from the hallways into the classrooms, and then they'll start to demo those hallways as well.
Okay, sounds good. And the JT Lambert?
Yep, and then JT Lambert, the third floor is completely leveled and ready to go with demolition. So the flooring is going to arrive there on Tuesday, and they'll be ready to get laying floor on the third floor on Wednesday. And then the second floor is, a majority of it is demoed. They have one or two classrooms left, and they're going to start doing the They're going to put the primer down and start leveling this week. So that'll be completed by the end of the week. And they're going to get started on the first floor and then start to work their way around to getting the demo done on the first floor and then work their way into the pod.
Okay. That sounds like progress. That sounds good.
Yep. Yeah, they're moving right along as well.
Okay.
Dave, a question for JTL.
What's that?
Are they sanding the floors in JTL when they peel up the tile and the old carpet?
Yes, they are. Yes. Yeah, they have to grind up all the old glue.
Okay. All right. And is Scott still with us?
Scott Ely?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like as time moves on here, our maintenance guys are going to have to go check those univents and stuff because they're going to be clogged from all the sanding they're doing in those rooms.
Yes. Yeah, I am aware of that, Larry. That is correct. We will have to go off of our schedule at that point in time if those two schools are not in sequence with our current schedule. But yes, I'm aware of that. Thank you.
Right, because Russica had like 2 rooms. I don't remember the room numbers because, you know, just running through, but they had 2 rooms that they had no airflow at all coming out of the univents. The motors were running, but the airflow was 0. So.
Okay. So can I make a motion for the Dewey invoices 1 through 4? And I'll make that motion if somebody wants to second that. Anyone?
Just
Crickets?
give me a second here. So it's 19, 3,000, 890. Yeah, okay. Motion.
So you're actually the second, and we already discussed it, if there's anything else. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. George, you with us?
There we go. I had to put the mic back on.
Okay. You with us? You in favor of that? Those invoices?
I'm in favor.
Okay. All right, moving on. Sorry, my page is cut off. I think it's Klein Belder. Is that right?
Yep.
High School North Tennis Court investigation, $2,500.
Yeah, this was services performed way back in the fall. I don't know if their invoice fell through the cracks or what happened, but this was back in, I think, September of 19. When we were looking at that tennis court up there, we were asked to have them come out and take cores of the asphalt profile. So that's what that invoice is for. And I believe the report that went along with it was also attached.
So did we do anything with that, or we just got an investigation report? Because if it's been that long, I wasn't here then.
I think so. I think our guys sealed it, didn't they, Scott?
If I remember correctly, I think Scott, the grounds was able to get out there and seal some of those.
Grounds sealed it. Yes, correct.
Somebody sealed it, yeah.
So this is just the invoice a lost invoice somewhere. Okay, so.
Right. Yeah, but no, wait a minute. We got pictures here. It looks like, did they go through they went through the macadam that was put down like 3 years ago and down through the old stuff that was underneath? They went through everything?
Yeah, they went through all the way down to the aggregate, Larry.
Okay. And then it looks like the total here is a little over 3 inches in total, or about 3 in total, according to the pictures and the ruler.
Looks like the total is about 5.5 inches, isn't it?
Well,
it's tough. Yeah, it's kind of tough to tell. Like C1 is broken in half, but the total.
Well, I'm looking at the chart, and the chart, they're all about the same. But it looks like the wear course, the base, and the aggregate all combined is about 5.5 inches all the way around. If you look at the your report, Josh.
Yeah, the report has, it also has the historic pavement, which would have been beneath the surface pavement, which was 1.5 inches wearing and then almost 3 inches of base
That was
course.
about 4 inches, yeah.
So what was the original 3.5 and
The original was 4, Larry.
Yeah, 3 of base course, 3 inches base course, and then 1.5 inches of wearing course.
so that would have been 5, right? Yeah. 4.5, 5. And then if we put another 2 or 3 on top, that would have been like 7, right? 7.
Yeah,
inches?
so
Larry was about 4 inches with the old wearing, and then the new, you had another 1.5 inches, so it's about 5.5.
Okay.
If you take a look at Josh's report, that's what it basically says.
All right. Well, I don't have Josh's report.
So this is just, so this is just an invoice, correct?
B1C1. Oh, it's B1C1.
B1C1.
yeah, so the report is from Kleinfelder. They're the group that came out, and that's their invoice. So basically, it was, you know, an evaluation of what the core samples found. So
They when I say your report, Josh, they sent it to you.
right, yep.
All right. Well, so what typically is the proper thickness for a tennis court?
1.5 inches and 3 inches is certainly, you know, normal, even for roadway construction. You know, that profile is certainly adequate for the use.
All right. So, but yet the tennis court's popping apart. So
It's separating, Larry.
yeah.
It's not falling apart. It's separating at the seams.
Right.
Happens when you build on wetlands. Anyway, so so we've already coded it. This is just the invoice leftover invoice. So
Right.
would anybody like to make a motion to pay that invoice?
Yes.
Motion by Larry.
I guess I have to second it, huh?
Well, I can second it if you don't want
Okay,
to.
you can second
I'll
it.
second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah. So moving on to the next court.
So you're not opposed, just for the record, right, Larry? Okay.
Not real happy about it, but I'm not opposed. Yeah.
Okay.
So did we get the report from the roads and the parking lots yet, Josh?
No, we didn't, Larry. In fact, I reminded them today that we still need that. So as soon as I get that, I'll shoot it over. I would imagine that we can get that within a few days. You know, they were out there, I think, May 11th. So should be plenty of time for them to get that report together by now.
Right.
So that was on my list for the end, Larry, but
Okay.
if we want to just go through the agenda here and then we'll
Yep. Fine.
talk about that. Do you mind? Okay.
All
So application for payment, we have commercial flooring, Resica Elementary floor replacement for $119,970. We also have Lehigh flooring for JT Lambert replacement for $50,575.50. And Gynet Communications for JT Lambert camera installation for $44,564.40. So as far as I can tell, they're just invoices. Is that correct?
Yep, these are monthly progress payments for the summer projects.
We've kind of already got the update on them. So would anybody like to make a motion to pay those
Yeah, motion.
invoices?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Larry, second by George.
Yes, second by George.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, so items for discussion on here is the ice melt, and that's Daryl or Eric. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on that. That's from last month, I guess. Larry's question from last month. So,
What type of ice melt are we using?
well, I think Larry had a question about the ice melt. Is that correct from last? And it's on there for discussion. Daryl must have something for us or something.
Is Daryl still here? I see Scott.
I'm here, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what you wanted to know about ice melt as far as that's concerned. I think Scott may be more suited to answer this question.
All right. Well, my question is, if you take a $5 bag of salt, how many square feet does that cover? Okay, versus a $10 bag of ice melt, then how many square feet does that cover? And I want to figure out what the overall outlay is versus, just keeping the destroyed concrete that is going to cost us millions to replace.
Gotcha. Scott, do you have anything for that?
I don't have square footage information at hand. No, I can certainly look into that to find that out.
All right, and then the other thing that obviously needs to happen is whether it's ice melt or salt, you don't need to put it down so you can barely see the concrete. I mean, it's nice to want to be safe and all that, but nobody puts salt down like that. I mean, that's just waste.
I'm not sure where you're referring to, if you're referring district-wide or particular buildings. However, I will say that this winter alone, we had several falls from staff and students up at the North Campus due to ice on the parking lot areas and also these sidewalks. We do also, just so you're aware, if you're not, we do, once we know the storm has subsided and the ice has actually melted, we have been sweeping off the ice melt from the sidewalks at every building. I understand that, Larry, I get what you're saying about that we don't want to overdo, but I look at the safety and potential lawsuits if there are slips and falls also versus maybe using a little too much salt. That's just my position on that.
Plus, if we put
if we use too much salt and we destroy the concrete, we can still have people tripping and falling because the concrete now has gaps in it.
Well, however, like I stated, we have been very cognizant the last 2 or so years that we are sweeping this off as soon as these sidewalks are dry and the storm has passed, which sometimes is the next day, maybe 2 days later, depending on these storm and how long the ice stays ice and does not melt. But typically we're looking at 2 days max. Sometimes it's even the next day, like I said, depending on the storm, of course.
Well, the amount of storm that we had up north last year was nothing, and they went through what? How many pallets up there?
I don't have that number in front of me of what we went through.
Well, I remember when the warehouse area there was full and they had it sitting outside. I mean, I don't think we had much more than a total of 3 inches of snow up north. So, and everywhere I looked, I mean, hey, we're gonna have people everywhere claiming they fall, no matter if it's dry ground,
Well, if the committee decides that they would like us to reduce the spreading of the materials, then I'll move that direction.
I do not want to do that.
I don't think it's a committee decision.
No, I do not want to do that.
No, but I do want an analysis. I mean, there's got to be a recommendation of how much salt you put down.
Larry, it's up north there, not for nothing. We could put it down 1 minute and it could freeze over the next.
And we have our custodians out in the blizzard and wind conditions, and now we're going to ask them to pay attention to how much they put down. Is it feasible? I'm not sure.
Well, they use a spreader, don't they?
Yes, they do. But
Okay.
but again, every storm is different. Also, as far as would they make 2 passes as opposed to 1, depending on the storm. Also, I would be reluctant to give them guidelines based on a particular ice storm or snowstorm when they all differ. That's my concern.
I'm not that concerned with putting, I mean, the ice melt, put what you need to on there for safety reasons. You get a wind gust and it covers the parking lot and it turns to a sheet of ice in a minute for the sidewalks. You don't want people out there walking. If they feel they need to put it back on, I think we should do that.
So we contract out putting the salt on the roads in the parking lot.
Well, I misspoke about the roads. I'm talking about the sidewalks, but can happen on the sidewalks as well as the roads, but.
Well, and you could also salt it and it could be absolutely bare and somebody's going to claim they fell down. So.
Well, that we can't, we don't have control over that, but if we don't put enough salt down, we then are liable for that. If it's proven that we don't have enough coverage down there, we're liable.
We have great cameras to catch that.
Yes, we do. They're crystal clear now, aren't they? Okay. Let's go to what's on the agenda. High school North water heater project, which I think I have it on here as listed as boilers, but I guess it's the water heater project for discussion. So is there any, I don't know how it got on here, so I'm assuming somebody wants to talk about it.
The committee, last month, the committee asked me to put that on the agenda for this month, so I did so.
Well, we were discussing I think the last time that we have half of one unit and then 2 units, and we talk about efficiency, were we not, Larry?
Well, okay, on the water heaters, Josh, Josh, you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. So they didn't have the burners set up right for the oil, right? They were pumping too much fuel in there because the oil pressure was 100 pounds more than it needed to be, right?
Well, not 100 pounds, but the oil was throttled down a little bit to help with the combustion aspect. There was still an issue with the relief valves that were blowing on the boilers themselves. What our determination is that loop, when it was tied into the heating loop temporarily, that is a much higher pressure than what the domestic heating loop is. And that residual pressure is what was blowing the relief valves, not that it was faulty valves or valves that were not high enough. When it's not connected to the heating loop, those pressures should be fine. It's funny because it's nice and convenient having it connected to the hot water side if there is a catastrophic issue or something with the boilers, but we think that's also causing some of these pressure issues. So we're going to just recommend at this point that everything is isolated between domestic side and the heating side, and if we can just have the expansion tank on the domestic side adjusted to relieve some of the pressure, we think that's going to take care of those relief valves from blowing off. So initially, it was a firing issue with the fuel delivery. We think we're over that hurdle, and now it was the pressure issue, which we think we can attribute to that heating loop and having that disconnected permanently.
All right,
Josh, I believe that there are ball valves in place where you're speaking of already that we can open and close, that we would not have to remove those lines. Isn't that correct, I believe?
That's correct. And like I said, it's nice kind of having that connection in case of an emergency that we can
absolutely
simply hook it up to the heating boilers. But, when it's not in use and that residual pressure remains in that domestic loop, we think is what's causing those issues with the valves blowing off. So it's just going to take some more switchover precautions to make sure that the pressure in the other loop gets down to where it needs to be before the boilers are placed into service. So maybe you don't want to disconnect it completely. Say again, George?
How many valves have we blown?
Well,
on the domestic side, you said we blow because of pressure. We've blown valves.
Yeah, so the boilers have pressure relief valves built into them.
Yeah.
So they're, basically reusable relief valves that were just weeping because they were open. They remained open because the pressure was so high that it was trying to be relieved through those relief valves. So it's, nothing that needed to be replaced. It was just a matter of water was leaking out of those valves because the pressure was too high.
Okay, but the issue is, Josh, when the water heaters sit there running, okay, the relief valves were dripping and they were supplying to heat the hot water. They weren't tied into the boilers. I mean, when they finally got the Wall McLean boilers in and fired them up, that's what was heating the hot water, correct?
Correct, but there were periods of time where that connection was made back to the heating side of things for various reasons, for either service on the boilers or
correct. But when those boilers were in place and they weren't hooked up to the heating, they leaked from day one.
What I'm saying is, Larry, there was residual pressure left over in that loop from the heating loop that needs to be relieved.
But they dripped. They had a little stream of water coming out nonstop for weeks, maybe even months.
If I may interject, correct me if I'm wrong, but the relief valves that are currently in place are rated at 30 psi, I believe. And it's my understanding that this new system is actually rated for 80 psi. Could that there itself be the simple solution in the problem, or not?
Yeah, and then that was going to be my next question. The Wall McLean boilers, what can you run them at 80, the same as, is the working pressure allowed to be 80 on them like the heating system is?
Yeah, as far as what the equipment is capable of operating to, yeah, it's over 30 psi. But the whole point is these circulation pumps are not even capable of pushing GPM or pressure that's higher than 30 psi. So it doesn't really matter what the boilers themselves can handle. It's a matter of the pumps that are hooked up to that side of things are only capable of creating enough a certain pressure, which in this case is actually lower than the relief valve setting. So again, that's why we think it's more so the heating pressure. When that loop sees the heating pressures is when we have the problems at the boilers.
Okay.
Can I just cut in here a minute? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We got like 20 minutes before we're overlapping the next meeting. And I really want to talk about the ductwork up at north above the flooring, because the flooring is due to go in soon. We have to make a decision on that. I feel, Wayne says he's not worried about it at all. I don't know if anybody else is, but we need to give administration at least what we want them to do or not do so that we can get these floors in a timely manner. So I'd really like to talk about that before we lose our time spot here.
When Wayne says he's not worried about it, but I think we want to, I don't know if Larry and Lisa, that we want to strip that flaking ductwork and leave it bare. Isn't that what we want to do?
I'm okay with that.
Let me finish up with Josh. Are you going to be up there sometime in the next couple of weeks, Josh?
Yes.
All right. How about you give me a call? I'll meet you up there. We'll look at the pressure gauges and figure this mess out.
Yeah, that's fine. I can give you a call next time I'm heading up.
All right.
Please include me in that meeting also. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. So yes, that was just Wayne's comment, George, before you logged in this afternoon. So I just kind of reiterated what he said. And we talked about that, you and I, up at when we were up at the awards. And I agree with that as well. But I haven't seen it for myself. So I really don't know what it looks like. You guys were up there, you saw it.
Well, what we don't want to do, and Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last thing we want to do is sandblast anything up in the north because of it would get into cracks and everything else, and it'd be such a mess. So the easiest thing I think would be to, this is my opinion, would be to strip it down to the bare steel and leave it just bare steel, and not worry about if it looks pretty or not.
Well, you say strip it down, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to get all that paint off.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
going to
I
be
understand that,
spotty.
but even not all, it's not going, may not look that pretty, but it's not going to get all over the floor. It's not going to get off into anything else. It may not look as nice as we would like it, but functionally, we wouldn't have a maintenance problem.
Right. I mean, Daryl did, give us the paint options. I believe we had that they put out there, and we all kind of made a face at that. So I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
Most ductwork stuff like that today that isn't not even necessarily painted, but
Right. Yeah, if our maintenance guys have the time, if they want to get up there and not power brush and not sand, but take a scraper and knock off the chips that's there, do that before they tear the floor up, why, that would be fine, and then that'll be just less paint that'll fall off that the custodians are going to sweep up. But even a few chips that fall on that floor, as hard as that'll be in the urethane, it's not going to hurt the new floor. And I believe the custodians probably mop that every day at a minimum, right, Scott? The gym floors usually get dry mopped every day.
During school, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the summertime, not as much, but yes, during school, yes.
Yeah, and then the couple of places where the ceiling is chipping, I would just touch up with that. Scrape off the little paint that's chipped there and recoat it, just so it doesn't get worse.
Yeah. Yep.
okay, so that's our decision here.
That's what that's my suggestion.
Our recommendation, I guess I should say.
Yep.
All right. I mean, I'm okay with that unless anybody thinks it's a horrible thing.
Yeah. If we hit the lottery, well, then we'll go to plan B,
All right. Keep playing, Larry.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the high school south pool? Just a little update, Josh, if you have anything else on that or.
Sure. So what I'm thinking as far as the timing goes, we need to follow the 3-week bid advertisement, which we could hit next week of the 15th and week of the 22nd. And we'd have a pre-bid meeting that week of the 22nd. And then, figuring we'd probably give the bidders 2 weeks to put a number together. I don't think we wouldn't hit the facilities meeting, the P&F meeting, but if we could have a recommendation for the finance meeting, which is on July 13th, would that be acceptable to you guys?
To accept the bid?
Yeah, so what that would do is basically give August, I would anticipate about an August 10th start date. And I believe I heard through Dr. Riker, October 1st would kind of be the absolute, drop dead final date. So between August 10th and that date to get the work done, if that would be okay.
I'm okay with that. That pushes it along, and even though it's a summer project, it's still basically getting done in the time frame and not pushed till next year.
Josh, that date is correct. October 1st.
Yeah. Okay.
October what?
October 1st.
Okay. I'll write it on my thing here. Thank you. All right. Everybody cool with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I do have a question if Dr. Riker's still here.
He left, but I'll fill in for him.
How about, I know there's grants out there like for communities and subdivisions and whatever for water and sewer for grants. is there any chance we could get Angela to look into that and do a little research and see if we could get some grant money from the state or the federal government for the two schools?
Yeah, I can ask her to look.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're good with the boilers. Larry, you're going to take care of that. You're going to look at that.
Well, is Josh still here too?
But I want to mention one other thing, because you started mentioning about the core samples for the north paving as well. And I cut you off before about that. So whichever one you want to do, we got a few minutes here and then we're going to be cut off.
All right, well.
And we have to do the motion.
Boilers real quick. You know, those boilers, we bought them that they'll run on dual fuel, okay? And, you know, historically, if you'd run them on propane, they're going to burn a whole lot cleaner. You know, you're basically not going to have to service them near as much as oil. You know, oil, you got to clean them every year and tear them apart and whatever. You know, with propane, you just give them a look and, you know, you probably don't have to touch nothing, okay? And plus, the fuel's a lot cheaper. So, but, you know, there again, we're going to have to get a contractor in and put a couple of tanks there and do some piping work. Now, I don't know if that piping was included in the cost of the installation or where we're at there, but you know, we ought to figure out if we want to continue to run them on oil and or have the dual fuel capability.
Okay. So that's just putting it out there, right?
Yeah, that's something we need to discuss at a later point.
Right.
Okay.
And then the core samples, we go to Josh.
Is Josh still here?
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah. So the ones that they took on May 11th, again, I don't have that report back yet. I would think we would have that within a few days for the parking lot.
Okay, so we're not ready yet. We don't have much to talk about there, right?
Well, the ones, you know, George and Wayne and I were up there that day. We witnessed a couple of them, and then we talked to the guys that did it. The only hole that they did was back on the road, back by the tennis courts. The gentleman that was like in charge, he said he had, you know, just a few like 2B stones in the palm of his hand. That's all he took out of that one. All the rest of them had no stone at all. Once they got through the blacktop, there was no base anywhere. It was just, you know, wet soil, you know, no stone, no nothing. Okay. And I witnessed 3 of the holes that they did. And I don't know how many Wayne witnessed before I got there, but yeah, there was nothing underneath. The blacktop, in fact, though, you know, was, you know, it looked like it all met spec. So, or well, the thickness, it looked like they used like a, you know, the base. It looked like they used looks like they just ran one layer. It didn't look like they put a base coat down and then a top coat. It looked like they used a modified material that, you know, they could compact it and it looked good on the top, but it really, you know, you couldn't see the layers. It seemed to be the same material all the way through.
Okay. All right. So can I ask if there's any public participation out there? Guess not, right? I don't know who's here, so. Okay. Hearing none.
We got 2 minutes yet, I guess.
Okay, I just want to ask Rebecca one thing really quick. Did I take care of all the motions? I don't know if she's on there. She's there somewhere, I guess. I got them all, right?
You did get
In
them.
my records, you did.
Okay. All right.
Real quickly.
Go, George.
Well, the core samples, we also did the video of the underground drainage, right, Josh? We did that, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. You're
So
right.
now, so we're now over 2 years and we haven't done anything. So we have to, somewhere we have to put something together and move forward more quickly. And we don't, so what's our next move? That's the question.
I guess that's a good question, George.
Well,
I was kind of thinking it myself. What are we
as
doing?
soon as we get the core samples, why we'll turn that over to Lyman and Ash.
When we get what, Larry?
When we get the core sample report, we'll turn that over to Lyman and Ash.
Okay. So that's
So
what
we're
we're
going
doing.
to turn both parts over, the
Yeah.
drainage and the core samples?
Yep. Yep, the video and the core samples, yep.
Okay. It just seems so long that we've been on this project.
You are correct.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else, guys? Guess we're good for now. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Anybody second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, thanks, everyone. I think we got everything this time.
Well, except for the 5-year plan, but we'll do that next time. I
Except
guess.
for the 5-year plan. I kind of keep let that go, but I think the updates are a little bit more important for the summer projects here to get them.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you.
Have a good one.